Welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. My camera has gone rogue. I'm going to pan left so I'm centered in the screen instead of way off to one side looking the other direction like this is 30 for 30. We're also on Birmingham Area Municipal Access on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 in the Birmingham Bloomfield area. On the radio, 88.1 WBFH The Biff in the Bloomfield Hills area and 89.3 Lakes FM, of course, here in the Greater West Bloomfield. And we're online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link or view us in the small player at the top right of our homepage on your computer web browser. And we're always on Facebook, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM. And as always, joining me here in the studios at Green Media Center in West Bloomfield is Ronnie Dahl.
So, Tyler, I caught your 30 for 30
yes, the
reference.
Yeah.
I will say I don't like sports, but I love those shows, 30 for 30 on ESPN. But why do they frame
I don't know.
some of their interviews like that?
I think they thought it was an interesting change. It was visually different and caught people's eyes. And then they just made it a stylistic choice. Is it a good one? No. What are you looking at? You're looking. It's like why don't you just have them?
Yeah.
Why don't you just have a profile shot and have them stare directly in front of a wall while you're at it? You know, it's the same thing. What are they talking at?
It always looks a little weird, but I do love them because they tell stories.
Yes.
Same thing with Bryant Gumbel, Real Sports on HBO. That's also one of my favorite shows, even though I don't like him.
Yeah, I can take them or leave them.
Oh, I thought the air conditioning was fixed.
Yeah,
so
well, we
wore
had
long sleeves.
Yeah, well, we had another power outage yesterday, and I think it took some of the essential things out, and it may have just shut down our air conditioning. So I'll have to take a look at a certain unit that I didn't have time to look at this morning because a lot of other things were also out, but we have power. Our generator worked this time, so for those of you that were watching us after 8 o'clock yesterday, congratulations. We stayed on the air, and I did not stay dry last night leaving the building. I had missed earlier on. We, of course, get emergency alert system updates here, and we hear them in our master control area. Usually it's just a test. I had no idea we had a storm coming in. I had no idea what was going on. I thought, okay, it's just a test. Let me go, chit-chat with Larry and, get things settled for tomorrow's Megacast. And then he had left. About a half hour later, I got ready to leave because I saw, okay, it looks like it's going to get cloudy. It's probably going to rain here in the next 20 minutes. Let me get my umbrella before, I get soaked. And I walk outside. It's raining a little bit. And by the time I got halfway back to Parks, the monsoon began.
Yeah.
One of those classic lake hurricanes we've been getting here lately. And let's just say by the time I got about halfway through the parking lot at Town Hall in the Civic Center Plaza next door over here, my umbrella was overtaken by the wind. It was useless. I ran the last maybe 25 yards to my car and was able to open up the trunk because I was within range to not have to reach in my pocket and unlock the car. So I opened the trunk up. I threw my belongings in there. I dove inside, closed it behind me, and luckily I happened to have a towel in there already, so I could at least partially dry off. But let's just say I have the pair of shoes I was wearing yesterday that are just my regular day shoes and workout shoes, and they are still wet. I am still drying them off as we speak. Have them in sunlight today, so we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Was
so
wild.
I will say, if I could recommend to you, I downloaded the Oakland County Sheriff's Department's app.
Okay.
And they do the weather alerts.
Okay.
So I had a business meeting last night, 12 Mile in Orchard Lake, and it was, I started getting the alerts. So I was like, hey, I'm going to wrap up, ask the person, for the bill. But they were so backed up and slow, which we know this is happening. And I kept watching the clouds move in. And I was like, by the time they actually checked us out, it was a good 25, 30 minutes. And by that time, it's like you said, we got caught in the same thing. It was hailing. We had hail.
Yeah.
My husband said he didn't, in Kego Harbor. But I was in bubbles.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, I run to the car and I have everything going. And then I was like, oh, wait, is it charged? Because when you turn on, the defrost, the windshield wipers and everything, then it sucks down the battery. But it was hailing on top of the car. I was like, oh my gosh, is it going to break the glass?
Yeah.
So I pulled over and, kind of tried to wait it out for a little bit under an awning. But then I saw people going through the huge mud puddles. I was like, maybe I need to get home because I don't know how well the smart car does in huge mud puddles, right? So I was like, I'm just going to go for it. But then once I headed down a 12-mile towards, or Orchard Lake towards Kegel Harbor, it cleared up quite a bit. It was amazing.
Yeah, in the craziness of the moment, I made a bad decision, other than, of course, walking to my car after work yesterday, which was, in hindsight, not the best timing. I made another bad decision where I turned right out of Town Hall, went down Walnut Lake Road toward Drake Road, and I realized about halfway down there, I'm like, wait a minute. Every time it rains even slightly, the bend at the bottom of Drake Road heading back up toward Maple is a giant puddle. That's probably not a good spot right now. I shouldn't be going this route. So I figured, okay, I'll keep going straight on Walnut Lake and go around. And as I get past, the Rite Aid there at Walnut Lake and Drake, I saw a bunch of standing water and people going through puddles, and so I pulled into a private neighborhood, and did a U-turn and turned back the other way, and it was interesting. There were a lot of branches down.
Yeah.
I passed by the JCC and the Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital on the way back up Maple Road, the much better route and drier route and less puddled necessarily route than Walnut Lake or Drake. And some of the signs for like the Tree Runner Park that are just standing A-frame signs on the side of the road. I was really surprised that didn't get blown into the road. It was knocked over, but it was safely knocked over on site at the JCC, luckily.
A lot of people this morning waking up without power. So yeah, all through in this area, Farmington Hills, I believe got hit pretty hard as well. I will say, DTE's been coming through the neighborhood and trimming the trees along the trail, which backs up right to our backyard, and then we're right there by the transformer. And I will say we've been lucky this year because we've not had any power outages, and I don't know how much that maybe has helped us out, but if it has, thank you. I mean, it doesn't look pretty, but if it keeps my electricity on, hey, chop away.
Yeah, exactly. That's the purpose of it, and especially with all these storms we've had this summer, and the wind especially with these storms, that becomes even more important because the slightest little touch could cause a power outage, as we've seen over here.
This has been crazy this summer. Last summer we had an awesome summer when it came to the weather.
It's great.
This summer,
it's the worst. This is terrible.
I mean, come on.
Right.
We only get like 3 months of nice weather in Michigan.
Right. It's disgusting 90% of the year. And now, the good months, it's also disgusting. What's going on? What did we do? Who hurt you, Mother Nature?
Well, all of us are, really, in all honesty. I will say, though, I'm super excited. We had a hydrangea plant that a friend got us years ago when we bought our house, is, housewarming gift. We planted it. It grew, but then I moved it, and then it didn't blossom again for years. So a couple years ago, I moved it again to the side of the house. Still, no blooms, no blooms, no blooms. This year, I have blooms, and it could be because of all the rain we were getting. I don't know. It looks great, and it's kind of making up for the fact that my line of hydrangea bushes are not doing so well because I may not have caught them in the act.
Oh, no.
But I'm almost guaranteeing that the deer have been munching away because the lower ones in the front are all nubs, and then the back are the blooms. And I'm like, So this weekend, we did the Irish Spring test that the Waterford Township supervisor was telling us about. Like, you take Irish Spring, you do the shavings, and then you lay it throughout the flower bed. So we tried that over the weekend. I'll let you know how it goes. But I will say, with all this rain, I'm like, am I going to have a puddle of bubbles now?
Right. Exactly. The good news is your yard will be squeaky clean. Hopefully there's additional good news that the deer won't be eating your hydrangeas, but if they do, at least you know that they brushed their teeth.
Hey, you know what? Would you put a mask back on if you had to?
Yeah, it's annoying, but if it's the safest thing to do, and it's the best thing for everyone around me, sure.
I will say for the unless it's mandated, like if you go to the doctor's office or some shops still kind of require it, I don't even think I have a lot of them in my car anymore.
No, I think I got one cloth mask in my car. I usually will only wear it if a place is busy, just because the chances of there being a mass of people just being disgusting is a lot greater in that situation.
Well, one expert is saying, hey, it's time to reset, put the mask back on. With the highly contagious Delta variant spreading, especially among the unvaccinated Americans, it may be time to hit the reset button on pandemic response, and for much of the country, put their mask back on. That's according to an expert. We are at a very different point in the pandemic than we were a month ago, Dr. Lena Wing told CNN, and therefore we should follow the example of LA County and say that if there are places where vaccinated and unvaccinated people are mixing, indoor mask mandates should still apply. As you remember, LA County reinstated a mask mandate over the weekend requiring masking indoors regardless of vaccination status. So when as a CNN medical analyst, she said that there are some exceptions to the occasion. She thinks people should be wearing masks indoors in public, but when everyone is vaccinated and has provided proof, or if there's a very high level of community vaccination. About 22% of the U.S. population, nearly 73 million people, live in a county considered to have a high COVID-19 transmission. That's according to data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So here in Oakland County, while we're lucky to be, really one of the highest vaccinated counties in the state of Michigan, we know that we're next to neighboring counties that don't have such a high rate.
Yeah, and this is growing concern as we've seen some light surges have started to pop up throughout the U.S. and Delta variant cases, and of course with Gamma variant also being semi-present throughout the U.S., there's growing concern. And as we start to see some more of these surges, hopefully not, but if we do see some more of these grow, and especially if they're near or indefinitely in Michigan, we could very well see some of these restrictions come back. We've heard before from health officials that as these have been lifted, that we can go back. We don't want to. We still got to be safe. We still got to get people vaccinated and get to that point where we don't really need to be worrying about it anymore because we have a high enough level of community vaccination. But if we have situations where we go back into a more dangerous situation where COVID-19 is spreading and these variants are getting more powerful, then we might have to roll back into some of these regulations. Hopefully, that's more incentive than anything that we've had recently for people that haven't been vaccinated and are on the fence, but maybe are not necessarily leaning one way or the other, that convinces them to get vaccinated.
So at one point this summer, we were thinking about going back to France because, my sister has a property there in the south of France. Okay. So usually we go in the summer times. And we were thinking about it, but there are still people that we know that aren't vaccinated and this, that, and the other. But traveling internationally right now, kind of a difficult situation because, too, even if you're vaccinated, you get on the plane. I mean, look at what's happening with so many of the U.S. athletes right now going to Tokyo. They're vaccinated, but yet they're still getting over there and testing positive. But if you do go to France, you are going to need a COVID pass if you want to go to some of the popular tourist venues. Visitors need a special COVID pass to ride up the Eiffel Tower or to visit French museums or movie theaters. The first step in a new campaign against what the government calls the stratospheric rise in Delta variant infections. To get the pass, people must show they are fully vaccinated or have a negative virus test or proof they recently recovered from an infection. The requirement went into effect Wednesday, and all cultural and tourist sites following a government decree. The president wants to rush through legislation to mandate the pass for restaurants and many other areas of public life, as well as requiring that all health workers get a jab. The lower house of parliament starts a debate on the bill Wednesday. That is going to be very interesting to see how that works and if other countries follow suit as well.
Yeah, I would expect to see that be a big debate first in European countries where we're seeing the Delta variant become more of a problem over time. Definitely in France, there's significant growing concern about the Delta variant. There has been for a long time in countries like the United Kingdom as well. And so especially these public places where you have tourists coming in as these countries have reopened travel from outside back in non-essential travel back into the country, these tourist locations are likely to be the first where you see these passes come into play. Whether or not that happens on a more wide-scale level in France, as President Emmanuel Macron would like to happen, I am not sure. I think that's going to be a very hot debate there, as it would be in many other Western countries.
Hey, CMU is announcing vaccine incentive program for its students. In an effort to increase the number of students receiving the COVID-19 vaccines, Central Michigan University today launched a vaccine incentive program with prizes including 4 scholarships equivalent to a full year of tuition and hundreds of gift cards. So starting today, students who have completed a full vaccine protocol, 1 dose of the J&J vaccine or 2 doses of the Pfizer or Moderna, may register online to enter the incentive program. And while they can enter only once, students are eligible for every drawing held after they register. So the earlier they register, the more chances they have at actually winning. CMU will choose 101 winners during each of the 4 scheduled drawings. Winners will be announced August 2nd, 23rd, September 13th, October 4th. In each drawing, 100 students will receive a $75 gift card, and 1 student will win a full tuition scholarship. All participants will also receive a 20% discount at the CMU bookstore. I have friends that have kids that go to CMU, and I'm sure that they would appreciate winning that scholarship.
Yeah, the scholarship would absolutely be huge for, I would think, the vast majority of those students, and that would be the greatest draw in this incentive to get vaccinated, like other vaccination programs. I don't know that this is going to really be that big of a draw to people to a point where it really changes the game in the vaccination process on campus at Central Michigan. I think it may be a minor draw, and it's a very minor draw like a lot of these other incentive programs. I mean, heck, the state of Michigan is giving away tens of thousands of dollars daily, hundreds of thousands of dollars overall in their My Shot to Win campaign, and that's barely moved the needle forward, no pun intended. So I would think it'd be similar here with CMU and their individual incentive program.
In fact, in the 10 o'clock hour, I think they're going to do the drawing for the $1 million winner for the Michigan My Shot to Win campaign, so we'll watch out for that. So my phone last weekend got wet at the lake, and it's like a ghost. It just opens windows and starts doing all these weird things on its own, and I keep trying to stop it.
Well, we have a ghost inside this building that's been haunting us for several years, so it's probably that ghost that has just infected your phone through the dampness.
Well, I did have the program, the insurance on your phone, because they're like $1,000,
right.
But of course, by the time you buy it, it's like a couple years old, and then they go to replace it. It's going to cost you $100, and then you get a new one. But I filed the claim last week, right after, so Monday. And then you're waiting, and you can't go without your phone today.
It's almost time to go pull up that CEO's public records with their pay salary and go to social media. That's worked.
I know. Well, I finally got a hold of someone this morning. It took about 30 minutes, and then they're like, "Oh, we're sorry. We do see that you filed one, and we haven't moved on it, so let me go ahead and prove it now. Give me some money, and we'll send out a phone." But of course, you're lucky if you get the same phone. You don't get the new updated iPhone, but you at least get the same phone. So we'll see how long it takes to get here. In the meantime, my phone's a ghost.
That's nice. Spooky.
Hey, so of course you can always check out the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com. Click on coronavirus there. We post the headlines each and every morning. At the top of the page, also direct links to some of the resources that you may find valuable as we continue to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic, including direct links to the CDC, the state of Michigan, as well as our local communities, Oakland County, Keiko Harbor, and all of that good stuff. Hey, with that, we're going to take a break here on the Wednesday edition of the Megacast. When we come back, I'm excited for our next guest.
Yes.
This is when you wish we could have people in studio.
Right, of course, and not just people.
And not just people. Our good friend, Officer Nick Soley, is going to be with us next here on the Megacast, along with their new four-legged friend at the Bloomfield Township Police Department. And then also coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, we'll speak with the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. We've been talking about the devastating impact that COVID has had on so many people, and drug overdose deaths are way up in 2020. So we'll be talking about that and so much more coming up in the 10 o'clock hour of the Megacast.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
Great to have you back with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keith. As a reminder, we're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon live, talking about all things pandemic. Of course, we thought we'd be out of the show by now and out of the pandemic, but no.
Real disappointing.
But we're still here and we're still bringing you long-form interviews. But I will say, I like the next interview, though. I will say, no sleeping on the job, Tyler.
No. If we can't sleep, then you can't sleep, right? Exactly.
Hey, I will say, though, we have to give a huge shout out to all of our first responders and our police officers and our firefighters, EMTs throughout this entire pandemic, because while so many of us have been able to work remotely, to also maybe, take safety precautions throughout the pandemic, they've been on the front lines and they continue to be on the front lines. And community engagement is so important during this time as well. Officer Nick Soley joins us now on the Megacast. He's the Community Relations Officer over at the Bloomfield Township PD. Great to have you with us, Nick. And I will say, Officer, you were not the one sleeping on the job.
I'm not. I tried to get her ready for the interview, but...
oh, come on, Maggie.
I'm not quite sure, so we'll wake her up here in a second. And Ronnie, I do apologize. If I'd have known that you were going to be doing the interview today, I'd have worn the pink suit again.
Oh, come on.
See, I was just telling Tyler about that. I do think I did you a favor, though, by not posting that video again.
I do appreciate that.
There she is. She's awake. Hi, Maggie. Oh, my gosh. I just want to go give her a big old puppy hug.
Well, anytime you want to come in, Ronnie, come in and see her. She's here every day with me, so she gets her exercise and playing with all the fun people around here. And I've never seen so many big, manly, scary police officers melt on the floor with a little puppy, but it's been happening quite often here these days.
Isn't it great? So again, we should kind of do an official introduction to Maggie, although that's not the name I voted on. So the Bloomfield Township Police Department, you now have a therapy dog, and she's a puppy, so she's still in training, just like officers go through training. She's going to go through training as well. But what is the purpose behind getting one of these cute doodles?
Yeah, so it's multi-purpose, really. Birmingham Police Department was probably the first in Michigan to have one of these therapy dogs. Chief Clements over there introduced Bella a few years ago. And they're just so useful in day-to-day tasks with the police department. So we've put in a proposal, and we're going to use Maggie in multitudes of different ways, but most importantly, community engagement. She's going to get out there with the community, and that's big. It's no secret what happened this last year. To be able to have people want to approach us and talk to us and start that conversation, and if we have to use a cute puppy to do that, that's what we're going to do. As well as she's going to be able to really help victims and our witnesses and people that have been through a traumatic event. To be able to sit next to a dog like Maggie, who's going to let them pet and cuddle and give licks, hopefully bring down some of that tension and some of that trauma so we're able to speak to them. And even on top of that, our first responders, right? Our dispatchers, our police officers, our firefighters here in the township, they go to some pretty horrific stuff and they see some pretty traumatizing things on a day-to-day basis, or they hear it over the phone. Our dispatchers giving CPR instructions over the phone while someone is suffering. To be able to take that adrenaline and bring it down to a healthy level, and using Maggie to do that is really going to do wonders, I think, for everyone's mental and physical health here at the police department and our first responders all throughout Bloomfield Township. So she's going to be busy, that's for sure.
She's going to get so much love. And I will say, because we do know that they've been using dogs for therapy for years. They use them over at the library for kids to help them to read. We use them at hospitals. So it really is surprising that it's taking so long for some of the police departments to really join in on this effort. Oh my gosh, she is so darn cute. So how do you guys go about picking a dog? Where do you get her from?
So we were pretty set. Chief Langmeyer has a golden doodle at home. I myself have a golden doodle at home. So we know their breed, we know their temperament, and they are very good with people and other animals, which is a big requirement for service dogs and especially therapy dogs. So when one of our friends up in Sandusky, Michigan, had a litter available, we said, now's the time. It's now or never. Let's do this. As you guys know, things in government move slow. This wasn't one of them. We had a proposal in on Thursday morning, and by Monday we were driving up to Sandusky to look at the litter and pick a pup. And we knew that it was going to be my dog. She'll stay with me. She lives with me. She goes home with me. And I was just drawn to Maggie. So that's how we picked Maggie, and that's how she ended up here in Bloomfield Township.
So with that, though, we should note that having a police dog with you is a big job. People think, oh, it is this cute dog and they're your friend and this, that, and the other, and Nick, I don't know if you remember, but I worked for ATF, and ATF has their explosive dogs, and they always use labs. And one of the reasons being that labs are very people friendly as well. Because if you have a big German Shepherd, no one wants to come up to you, right? I mean,
right. And we saw that here. We have our two canines here. They're both German Shepherds. And the folks on shift that work with those dogs will tell you they're just the friendliest dogs in the world, and we play with them. And but that's not their purpose. They have a goal, and their goal is to work. So they can't have that community engagement. They can't be that cuddly friend. So.
But with that, like with the ATF dogs, and again, they're working dogs just like your German Shepherd dogs, but their other purpose is community engagement. Because I will tell you, it's like a people magnet. I remember going with George Goodman with Bonnie, who was the chocolate lab, and then we had another one, Jax, who was this big black lab. He was just old and lazy, but Jax would let me dress him up and everything. So, of course, I'm their PIO. What am I going to do? I'm going to dress the dog up. I put that thing in so many costumes and Halloween, and they were like, stop, they're a working dog. And but there's a lot of work that goes into these dogs because they're not just a member of your family, but there's a lot of training that goes into it as well.
Yeah, there is a lot of training. We're very fortunate here at Bloomfield Township, not only to have one canine, but two canine officers. And then on top of that, one of our canine officers, Officer Angela Carlson, is a master trainer. So she spends time at the canine academies. She trains dogs. It's in her blood, right? She spends more time with dogs probably than people, and she's very good at what she does. So she is going to help us tremendously. We've already sat down even at 8 weeks with Angela, and she's going to start working with Maggie and with me, because she doesn't just need to train Maggie. She needs to train me to train Maggie, right? Because it's a skill that you have to keep up with. You can't just train at work for an hour and then go home. We have to continue those good behaviors and those reinforcements and continue the training. So really, Angela has to train me and Maggie now to get her where she needs to be.
Are you a little nervous though, because she's a puppy? What if she ends up failing your training?
That's what my wife asked. I said, well, it would be an early retirement, I guess. But we're confident Angela will be able to get her there, and she's going to spend a lot of time with us. And when she does get through that basic obedience, She does go off. She goes to another trainer through Off Leash Canine, and they will work a lot of therapy specific tasks and behaviors with Maggie, whether it be applying pressure to an individual or simply placing her head on that person's lap. When they're too distraught to actually pay attention to Maggie and pet Maggie, Maggie can almost pet them. It sounds weird, but she can, put that pressure on that person or put her head on their lap and give them some comfort in the time of need. So her behavior is so far so good, and we're confident she's going to do great.
I know that it's only been a few days, but what's been the reaction from the public?
The public, I can tell you, Ronnie, my email box is full, and my voicemails are full, and everyone wants Maggie at their next event. So she's going to have a lot of HOA picnics to go to, and a lot of fun walks and charity events and the senior center. And you can already see the impact she's having on our community. They want to meet Maggie. They want her to be a part of the event, and that draws in the police, and that's huge for us. We're very community oriented here. We try our very best every day to humanize the face of law enforcement, right? We're humans too. We have emotions. We're normal people, and I think people seeing the love that we have for this dog when we go to the events shows that sign as well.
Because it does help bridge that gap. And it's needed, I think, even more so now, because we know there's so many people that are so hesitant. Oh my gosh, that face. I just want to love her. I'm a crazy dog person, Officer Soley. So if she comes up kidnapped, I don't have her. Don't check my house.
Oh boy.
We'll have to schedule a date for puppuccinos, I think.
Exactly. See, you must follow me on Facebook to know how many puppuccinos I go to.
Boy.
Trixie just got her first puppuccino after her surgery this weekend, and she was like in doggy heaven.
Of course.
So, with that, too, because can we talk a little bit about recruiting? I know that you do more community side of the house, but that involves trying to attract people to the law enforcement field.
Absolutely.
Are you guys struggling with recruiting just like pretty much every other law enforcement agency?
Yeah, I think every law enforcement agency is down officers right now. We're looking for their next batch of officers, and we are seeing that wave of retirements, right? A lot of these officers get hired in together, which means they retire together. So we have openings coming up. We'll be trying to fill 4 spots, and I'm on our recruitment team, and we're going to get her out there and try and help with that to bring people in. But it is difficult, and we have a higher standard here at Bloomfield Township with our requirements of the bachelor's degree and a lot of the things that we look for to work in our community. It is tough right now. We're going everywhere and anywhere where they'll let us go. So that means police academies and college campuses and job fairs, and we're looking for lateral transfers, but every department in the state is. So it's really a big competition right now on who can get the best officers to sign for their department.
I will say a bachelor's, that's pretty tough. Even ATF, I think we were the only federal agency to accept people with only associates. But they had to make up with it with so many years of experience. But it is tough out there and trying to recruit. And what's it been also in the middle of a pandemic where you haven't been able to go to those regular job fairs?
Yeah, so I mean, how can we spread our message? We can't go to those job fairs. We can't go to the academies in person. Some of the academies weren't even happening. You're sending a flyer, and we're getting feedback from the director of academies, and we're talking as far up as the UP and all the way over to Grand Rapids. We're sending flyers, and they're telling us, we'll put your recruitment flyer on the back board, but just so you know, there's about 25 other ones back there. So how do you stand out with just a flyer? So we think Maggie's going to help us stand out once we can get back in person. And we have some other tools and tricks we'll take with us, and I won't share them in case any other police departments are listening.
So we had the new chief of police for Southfield on the other day, and I mentioned Maggie, and then, of course, we had Officer Pulsifer from the Troy Police Department, which that story went national when they got the police cat. I said Southfield needs to step up its game and get its own animal. I suggested a baby goat or one of those little baby pigs.
Dispatch here throughout a llama. They were talking about a drama-free llama. If any other departments are looking at llamas.
That's a good tagline right there. Drama-free llama.
No, this isn't. It is new. It started in Ohio in 2017. They were the first to bring a therapy dog on staff at a police department, and then of course Chief Clements in Birmingham with their therapy dog. Rochester City just announced their golden doodle just before us. I can promise you that these police departments didn't see us post it and are stealing it. This has been in works for a while, and they're all jumping on board, including us. I've been getting phone calls from Ann Arbor and Canton and all over the state. What are you guys doing? What's your policy look like? What did your pitch to the board look like? We want to do this. We've been trying to do this. We've just been waiting for someone to help us out. So we're all working together in this to try and make this a regular occurrence within police departments, that it's no longer a huge story that a police department has a therapy dog. It's just an everyday natural thing.
Again, we're talking with Officer Nick Soley from the Bloomfield Township Police Department. He's their community relations officer. And with that, is Maggie sleeping again?
She is. She's sleeping on the chair next to me. So
I
should have just left the camera on her. I'm sure no one wants to see me anyways.
What's her badge number?
She doesn't have a badge number yet. We're going to wait till she gets some training under her belt, and then we'll get her officially sworn in. So
she's like, stop bothering me. It's sleep time.
Like, swear in. I'll do it now.
So, Officer Soley, I will say I need to borrow your guys' trainer for our dog, Trixie. We've already spent a couple $1,000s on Trixie's training, and she was a rescue. You never know where rescues come from.
Sure. I hear you.
I'm surprised the dog is still with us, but she was a foster fail. Sure. She's quite interesting. Let's just say that. But she's getting a lot better. She's great with dogs. She just doesn't like people that much.
Yeah, and Maggie's fortunate. She goes home. Maybe she's jealous. I don't know, but she goes home every day to a brother and sister who are at home, and they get to sleep and relax all day, and she has to come to work. But the three of them are getting along great. So
it's so great. And we should mention, too, because I know, at least with ATF, their dogs are considered a member of the department, and they do have a badge, but they go through retirement as well. Like, will she have to pass a test like every year or every few years to remain on the job? How will that work? Because she's in a different capacity as a therapy dog.
Yeah, so in that capacity as a therapy dog, our policy will state that she is required to be therapy certified. She can't do that until she's a year old. So they don't do any certifications for these puppies until they're a year old. So really we have 9 to 10 more months of training before we can get her certified. And then once we get her certified, she'll be certified. She'll be working. We'll be able to take her in the capacity of a therapy dog. Until then, she'll still be doing our community engagement with us. And we'll be a little more cautious because she's not fully trained, but then she'll stay certified. And as long as she stays certified and healthy, she'll continue to work with us, until she no longer wants to get in the cruiser to come to work. So she'll continue that certification, and there's going to be a lot of refreshers for that training. She's got to keep up on that.
So while we all look at her as the cute, fluffy side, there's a lot of work that goes into it as well. So enjoy the journey, though, Officer Soley, because it's a lot. They're so cute, though, but dogs are a lot of work.
You forget, my dogs are 8 and 4 at home. My 4-year-old is a rescue, my 8-year-old. So it's been 8 years since I had a puppy at home. And I don't know if you guys can see through the Zoom, the bags under my eyes, but there's not a lot of sleep that goes on with an 8-week-old puppy. She doesn't want to go to bed for the whole night. So thank gosh I have my wife at home who's been very supportive in this, and she's helping take Maggie out and getting Maggie ready for work. So.
Has she peed in the chief's office yet?
She has. And I joked with Officer Carlson, again, our K9 handler, and I don't think we've had a dog come through our department, worked here, that has not used the chief's office as a restroom. So it's tradition, and it's kind of like a welcome to the force type thing.
We like that. It happens.
I don't know if we like that. It's interesting.
We don't like it, but it definitely happens.
I think it's funny.
It's thought-provoking.
Hey, well, it's been so great having you on, and thank you for bringing Maggie, too. I voted on the name Rosie.
Yeah, that was a very close second. So,
but she looks like a Maggie.
Yeah,
She's kind of like a Maggie Rose right now, I think.
Oh, see, you are a good officer. Look at that.
That's
Way to come back. Oh, hi, wake up.
hello, Maggie.
Wake up, baby girl. Oh my gosh. How many treats do you give her? Has anyone been dropping off cookies and treats and everything for her?
No treats yet. We are on a strict Cheerio diet. So we're doing a lot of her training with Cheerios. That way I can continue to reinforce that good behavior without getting her too chubby for work or getting her sick while she's here at the station. So a lot of Cheerios for her.
Haha, see, we actually make our dog's food. And it's she's on a raw dog food diet. And let me just tell you, I don't recommend it because for one dog, it takes like about 8 hours on a Saturday. So I couldn't imagine trying to do it for 3. But they say it extends their life a long time. And we've never had a big dog before. So anyway. Hey, officer, we so appreciate your time. When Maggie's making it through her training, always come back or any other time. Or if you want to break out the pink dance suit and show us some moves the next time, we're open to that as well.
Maggie might be my partner next year. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh.
So anytime you guys are in the area, stop on by and say hi to Maggie or say hi to one of our officers here at the station. We love having people, and we'll show you around. Appreciate you guys having me on.
I will say, if you do another Dancing with the Stars, you put her in the program,
right.
might bump up your score.
Just a little.
Anything will help, Ronnie. After last thing, I think anything will help. So.
No, you did great. You did great. And so people know he was in the Dancing with the Stars that raised money for charity, and he did great. So, again, thank you so much. We always appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Okay, take care. We're going to take a break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll change up the conversation just a little bit to talk about some of the problems that our community has been struggling with, especially during the pandemic, and talking about drug overdoses, but also a little bit of training that you can take and what you can do to help save a life. That's next here on the Megacast.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Trevor Project is sharing how you can support LGBTQ youth who may be at risk.
It's simple. Just show them that you care. C-A-R-E. Connect. If you noticed any warning signs of suicide from someone you know, reach out to them.
Ask. Ask directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? It might be challenging, but talking about suicide is proven to reduce risk.
Respond. If they open up to you about their suicidal ideation, honor that trust by responding with compassion and empathy.
Empower. Talking openly is a great first step, but now you can empower them with the information and the support they need to improve their situation.
Learn more about how you can show them you care and help prevent LGBTQ youth suicide. Visit trvr.org/care.
Great to have you with us again here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios along with Mr. Tyler Keefe. As a reminder, you can always catch us Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. You will also find us Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T, or you can listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. We also live stream the show on our Facebook page, so you can catch us there. Did you see the recent news that came out? Drug overdose deaths in the U.S. hit a record high in 2020, 93,331, and that number is probably an underestimate of the actual deaths. And we knew that through this pandemic, drugs and opioids, we were seeing an increase of usage. And sadly, those numbers are telling the story of what everyone suspected. But there are ways that you can help and to save a life as well. To talk a little bit more, let's bring in Julie Brenner. She's the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. Hi, Julie. Great to have you with us again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I know we have been talking about the number of people dying from opioids throughout this pandemic, but when you see that number and you remember it's not a number, those are, that's a person, that's someone's brother or sister, and it really is just staggering. It is staggering.
We've seen a drastic increase over the last year, up 12.7% during the same period back in 2019. So that means that we have a 12.7% increase in overdose deaths, and it's substantial, and it's tragic.
So as we start to hopefully emerge from this pandemic, do you hope or do you anticipate the numbers are going to start going down, or are we still in a cycle that maybe won't see an end for a while?
We're hopeful that we're going to see a decrease. We've put a lot of different programs in place across the county, including harm reduction with Narcan, providing free trainings to pretty much anybody that requires it. And we're expecting that we'll start seeing a decrease because people are more empowered to help in an overdose situation.
So can you tell us more about Narcan?
Sure. So it's an opioid reversal medication, basically. We have Narcan, which is intranasal, very simple way to administer this life-saving medication. And we do a training for it that can honestly 15 minutes drive-through. We provide it in multiple settings to make sure that we believe it should be a part of everybody's first aid kit. It should be in every organization beside their AED. It's necessary. You don't know when an overdose will occur, and it knows no limits.
Yeah, I know that, I think every restaurant should have them. Businesses
Absolutely.
Should have it. It's like you said, make it a part of your first aid kit. But I think some people too get worried about if they were to come across and administer it, could they be held responsible in some way if they don't use it properly?
Right. So no, they wouldn't. Michigan has a Good Samaritan law, and no, the answer is no. The goal here is, especially within training, we really emphasize 911. You need to get emergency response teams there as fast as possible to obviously take care of that human. The other part of that too is with nasal Narcan, if you're not in the throes of an actual overdose, it has no effect on you in any way, shape, or form. So again, that's why it's important to get EMS there to gauge really what is occurring. Obviously, if you're seeing drug paraphernalia and things like that around, and it's an obvious thing, go ahead and administer the Narcan. But Good Samaritan law protects you from that, from any kind of liability.
Again, we're talking with Julie Brenner, the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. And Julie, what are the signs of someone being in an overdose situation? Because I'm thinking more like, because I went through the training a few years ago, which I think mine is expired now. And we should note that they do have an expiration date, and you need to get them renewed. But I keep one in my car, and you wonder too, like if you come across someone, because we have seen the videos of people ODing in their cars or on the sidewalk, at the bench, at the park bench, or in the bathroom at restaurants. What are the signs if you have one of the kits, but you're not living with someone who has, a drug problem?
So, you might not even have a drug problem. One of the issues is that we've got a lot of an older adult population here that might be misreading labels or seeing, or taking multiple pills and not realizing it's having a reaction. But signs and symptoms, it's respiratory failure, basically trouble breathing, dilated pupils. It's very obvious. That would be a very obvious thing. Take a look at their pupils. So, but respiratory failure is probably the number one, where they're starting to turn a little bit blue and not being able to get enough oxygen in. So in that, we do have making sure that they're in the appropriate position making sure that they're not in a state where if they happen to have to vomit, that they're not choking on it, things like that. So that I would say respiratory failure, and then their pupils for sure. The other thing, signs and symptoms, is also recognizing the area directly around them. I'll be, completely transparent. I experienced somebody in an overdose in a car that I just, had seen on the road kind of thing, weaving in and out, and there he was pulled over and nodding off. And the paraphernalia was all over his lap. So it's not always obvious, but I'd say predominantly most of the time there's multiple things that you're going to see very quickly that would indicate an overdose.
And it is really scary. I remember one time coming across a guy in a car in Detroit on a side street, and in that situation, it was before we had this Narcan in the training, but his foot was also still, like, his car was not in park. So then you were worried too, like, what do you do? What do you not do? Can you get in and try to turn off the car? And what happens? And it could be a scary situation for anyone to come upon, but moments count. So how much time are we looking at for Narcan for it to really be effective?
Well, I'm going to say, go back to the first thing I said, because I had literally had the same experience. So 911, please call 911 immediately, because they're going to know all the other protocols around that too. Don't put yourself in danger for obvious reasons. We've got heroin laced with fentanyl in Oakland County, in the area in Southeast Michigan, and that can be fatal just by touch. So you need to use caution. If you're in a scenario like you just mentioned, and I've stated too, call 911 and they'll get there in moments. And again, every moment saves a life, right? So if you happen to have Narcan on you and you're able to administer it in a safer way for yourself, then go ahead and do that. But we've got police officers and fire and EMS that are extremely skilled at doing this for you. I would definitely engage with them right away, and then go ahead and administer the Narcan if you're comfortable. Some people aren't.
I know that you have a series of trainings coming up. Can you tell us more about that?
So with the pandemic, we actually have been providing virtual training. So we do those every Tuesday evening and Thursday at lunchtime. So you can go online and do those trainings anytime. Then we also partner with different organizations, including what is currently 21 prevention coalitions in Oakland County. And we have one coming up, a drive-thru on, let me just make sure I've got this right, on August 11th in Pontiac, where we're partnering with the Welcome Missionary Baptist Church. The Narcan Save a Life trainings that we do with communities virtually, they're all on our calendar, but we have one July 27th at 7 o'clock, and we've got one August 19th at 5:30. So if you can't make those two consistent weekly ones, we have specific ones. Again, we partner with organizations, police departments, and coalitions. And then we also now do a drive-thru, which is a 15-minute experience locally or within, again, Oakland County, where you can drive up, get the training, and it takes roughly 15 minutes, and then you're given the Narcan after you do a survey. And we also do refills as well. If it's expired like yours, give us a call or go online and reorder a refill.
So with that, Julie, too, if I can ask, because I know that you had to start the virtual training because of the pandemic, but has it allowed you to reach more people? Do you think you'll continue that?
We are absolutely going to be continuing it. We're not just reaching people here locally, we're reaching people across the nation. And where actually some of the organizations are modeling how we do it, which is a great honor for us as well. So it will be continuing virtually 100%. Obviously, a lot of people like the face-to-face, and we respect that. And we, with the vaccinations coming in and COVID restrictions being lifted, we will be resuming the face-to-face as well.
Julie Brenner with us here on the Megacast. She's the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. And I know you and your team, you're always busy. What other things do you have going on over there?
So we are in the throes of planning for our annual Shatter the Stigma event. And we normally do a run walk in June, but again, we've had to pivot a little bit. So this will be our second year of a virtual experience that launches on August 31st, which is National Overdose Awareness Day. And then with that kickoff, we'll be doing a Narcan training, a memorial walk. And then September 1st begins National Recovery Month. And we'll have a lot of, do-it-yourself fundraisers live in person on social media, mixed with a lot of education and awareness on how we can support people that are in recovery, all the different programming that we have that surrounds supporting people, families, grandparents, caregivers, youth, anyone that's affected, whether it is you yourself that's affected by substance use disorder, or someone that supports someone and loves somebody that is going through that. So it's quite extensive and busy for that month. But again, you can check out all of our social media and the events that we're going to do, including we've been in a new location since last September, and we haven't had an open house yet. So we'll be doing an October 7th open house and finale for the extended Shatter the Stigma month of National Recovery.
So talking about Shatter the Stigma, how important is it for us as a community and as a society to start reframing our conversations around drug use and drug misuse?
Right. It's extremely important. When we look at different aspects of why people are using and things like that, there's a lot of shame there, or has been historically a lot of shame there. And we're here to break that cycle. People need support, people need care, people need compassion, people need treatment and resources and things like that. So by changing the dialogue and making it an open conversation, for us, definitely in our organization and ones that we work with, has really changed the sort of the scenery of what that's going to look like. And shattering the stigma for us is a really crucial component of the recovery support that we provide. And I think it's also, you're seeing it nationally as well, where we're really looking at mental health and behavioral health as it ties into substance use disorders. And again, Shatter the Stigma for us is a very supportive, compassionate component of the work that we do.
If we
It's
could
necessary.
just briefly, I mean, I know we've talked to you several times throughout the pandemic, but again, for people that maybe are recognizing that their loved one is struggling, but they don't know how to have the conversation, or they don't know how to bring up the issue, what advice do you give to them?
Obviously approach with some compassion. People that are in the throes of substance use disorders may need extra help that maybe you're not able to give, and that's okay. It's okay to ask for help. We actually provide a lot of resources, and even encourage just phoning us and asking, like, what can I do? A lot of people don't know that we've got a sober support unit here in Oakland County that you can drive right up to, no questions asked, and get that person help right away. So I encourage everyone to not do this alone. You need a connection, you need a resource, you need someone to handhold the process. Again, we're here to help with that. Coalitions are here to help with that, and all the different organizations are around to do that. But it's really reaching out and knowing that you're not alone, and there are people that really care. We've got peer recovery support coaches and things like that are able to connect with you. And I think that's probably the first step is, when you're sitting at the table at home and you're in the throes of trying to figure out what to do for your son, your daughter, your parent, reach out. There are a lot of people and organizations here that can help with that. And that would be the first step.
We are lucky and blessed to live in the community in which we do, because we do know that Oakland County has a great support system. And
Yes.
it is just, making that phone call. Julie Brenner with us again, President and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. Before we let you go, what is your website again?
It is www.achcmi.org.
Well, it's been great talking to you, and thank you for all that you've been doing. And we look forward to coming to your open house in person.
That'd be great. I would love to see you in person.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We'll take a break here on the Megacast, and still a lot to get to in the second hour of the Megacast.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Great to have you with us here for the second hour of the Megacast. That is, if Tyler and I don't melt away. So we are at least lucky enough to have power here at the station. The generator got fixed, and so the electricity is running. However, the AC is out yet again after just getting fixed yesterday.
It seems like it's fine outside the studio because I just walked out there. I still have your little third in. Anyway, it seems like it's fine outside of the studio. It's just a little bit warmer in here. And then, of course, both you and I are wearing multiple layers. That doesn't help either.
Hey, but at least we have power.
That's
there
true.
are things to be grateful for.
Yes.
Hey, we have a lot to get to here in the second hour of the Megacast, and we're grateful to be able to bring in our first guest of the 11 o'clock hour, Dr. Jason Schwalb. He is with the Neurological Surgery Division over at Henry Ford West Bloomfield to talk more about Parkinson's disease. Great to have you with us, Doctor. How are you today?
I'm well. Good morning.
Can I ask you, when we have someone such as Michael J. Fox, who is such a high-profile individual, when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, he's also now made it his life mission. Does that help you and other doctors and research to be able to raise awareness about Parkinson's?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think in general, people who know someone with a condition, it raises their awareness, whether that's someone in their family or someone famous or someone in the news. It's somewhat of a double-edged sword. As one of my mentors used to say, you know, if you've seen one patient with Parkinson's disease, you've seen one patient with Parkinson's disease, because they're all very, very different. And the spectrum of symptoms and what goes on with patients with Parkinson's is very broad. And so you can't make broad generalizations just by one person in the news like Michael J. Fox or former Attorney General Janet Reno or someone like that.
How challenging does it make it for you in trying to treat Parkinson's, knowing that every patient is different?
Well, there are some commonalities, but I think the progression of symptoms can vary, and some people have more symptoms than others. I mean, for example, many patients with Parkinson's disease, or many people think of Parkinson's disease as a disease characterized by tremor, but about 20% of people with Parkinson's disease don't have any tremor. So there are certain criteria for diagnosis that are based on a constellation of symptoms, but it can be somewhat variable.
I know that I think in reading there's about 1 million people here in the United States currently living with Parkinson's disease. How long, once a person is diagnosed, does it shorten their lifespan, or is it really a matter of trying to manage the symptoms?
It's pretty variable, and people with young onset Parkinson's disease are very different from people who get it in their 60s or 70s. And so, someone like Michael J. Fox, who was diagnosed, I believe, in his 30s, and may have even been showing symptoms earlier, they tend to have pretty slow progression of their symptoms, especially the cognitive symptoms, whereas people who start developing symptoms in their 70s can definitely have reduced life expectancy because they're more liable to have issues with their thinking and with dementia, and they're more likely to have falls, and falls and trauma are actually a huge cause of morbidity and mortality in the elderly.
Dr. Jason Schwalb with us here on the Megacast. He is a neurological surgery department over at Henry Ford West Bloomfield, and I know that Henry Ford West Bloomfield was one of the first hospitals in the U.S. to use some new technology to try to assist some of the patients with Parkinson's. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I'm a surgeon, so I see the patients where they're no longer getting benefit from their medications, and that's usually after about, for many patients, it's after about 5 years of symptom treatment. Although we see patients that do great for 10 or 20 years with standard treatment with medication. So we put electrodes in people's brains and connect those to pacemakers, essentially. But instead of pacing the heart, we pace the brain, and that can help with the cardinal symptoms of Parkinson's disease, including slowness of movement, rigidity, tremor. And what it really helps most with are people where they're taking their medications and they turn on and they get a bunch of extra movements like you see Michael J. Fox having, and they flip unpredictably to being frozen, waiting for their next dose to kick in. So deep brain stimulation really kind of levels that out. Deep brain stimulation for movement disorders has been around since the late 80s, early 90s. I personally have been doing deep brain stimulation implants for 25 years now, for a quarter century. And for the appropriately chosen patient, it works great. The thing that we got some press about recently was a new device from a different company that's a little different than some of the other companies that are out there. But the technique is not particularly new. There's a lot of interesting things coming down the pike and in development for new, smarter systems and different ways of providing stimulation. This device was built on a slightly different platform than prior devices were built on, which may have some advantages in terms of how it delivers the current and can really optimize the benefits of surgery and minimize side effects with stimulation.
So after a surgery such as this, what is the recovery like? Or does it have to be replaced so many years? How does that work? What does it look like?
Yeah, so this device that we just implanted is a rechargeable battery, and you charge it sort of like these pads that you put your phone on, that you don't have to plug it in. Everything's underneath the skin, but you put a pad over the pacemaker generator and charge it usually once a week or so, and those batteries last 15 years. And then they can be replaced as an outpatient procedure. In terms of the recovery, we tend to do it in different stages. We usually do one surgery where we implant the electrodes. Many places do that with patients awake. We do some with awake, but most of our patients we're doing in the intraoperative MRI scanner so that we can make sure the electrode's in the right position, because if it's off 3 or 4 millimeters, it just doesn't work very well. And then we do a second surgery where we put in the battery. So I would say that people tend to be out of work for about 2 to 4 weeks. Afterwards, it takes some time for my neurology colleagues to find like the best settings and the best way to deliver stimulation. But usually people are in pretty stable electrical settings once they're about 2 or 3 months out from surgery, if it's surgery for Parkinson's.
This is really fascinating. But following the surgery, how does it help reduce the symptoms of Parkinson's?
There's a lot of theories. We used to think that it was the same as burning a hole and just burying the circuitry by taking out another circuitry. It's probably a lot more complex than that. It changes kind of oscillations within the brain and puts patients more in a state like when they're taking their medications and getting good effects. So it's fairly complex mathematically, and to be honest, to some extent, we don't really understand all of it. Some of it is really empiric.
For people that are living with Parkinson's, when you just mentioned there's new research and new things in development that are in the pipeline, is there hope that there is going to find a cure for Parkinson's at some point in time? Are you hopeful for that?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's hard to say. I mean, I'm old enough that I've been hearing, that we're going to be having a cure in the next 5 years, for the past 25 years. So, but on the other hand, I don't think anyone would have thought that there was going to be a potential cure for sickle cell. And I think we're probably looking at that in the next 5 years. So things can change. I don't think that deep brain stimulation is a cure for Parkinson's. There is a question as to whether it actually does slow down progression of the disease. I don't think we really know at this point, but it definitely doesn't cure people of the disease. And we'll have to see, what other modalities and what other treatments are going to come out in the next 10, 20 years. But the brain is so incredibly complex. I mean, there are more synapses and connections between neurons in the brain than there are stars in the universe. So it's very daunting to try and come up with cures. But our research group, and I work closely with Peter LeWitt, who is a wonderful, prominent neurologist in our group, have been working on these issues for many years.
So how much does this help improve a patient's quality of life?
A lot. So I think the biggest thing it does is it makes life a lot more predictable. And so for people who are fluctuating from having all these extra movements, or frankly, when you see Michael J. Fox with all these extra movements, it's probably because he's taken extra pills so that he's not frozen and unable to move. And just to have that predictability, makes a huge difference in terms of traveling, going out to eat, being able to dance at your daughter's wedding, and any number of things. It really makes a huge difference in quality of life for the appropriately chosen patient.
We're talking with Dr. Jason Schwalb with us here on the Megacast. He's a neurological surgeon over at the Henry Ford West Bloomfield. And doctor, if I can ask you, you mentioned that you've been doing this long enough to think about the technology and how much it's changed over the course of your career. It's been pretty substantial.
Somewhat. I mean, to be honest, it hasn't been as huge as one would hope. I mean, I think part of that is because one company had a monopoly on this technology for a number of years. That's no longer the case and hasn't been the case for about 5-6 years. And so if it's going to be like other things we do where there's competition, I expect to see a lot of leapfrogging of companies one over the other. So we're seeing better ways to program these devices with imaging linked in to make it easier for the neurologist. You can direct current by having leads that are segmented so they face in different directions. One of the companies now has a device that can be programmed remotely, whereas if I had a patient coming from the Upper Peninsula who was really hard to talk to them about coming back and forth for programming or having to travel even to Traverse City for programming, now that's potentially an option to do remotely. So there's a lot of exciting things that are out, and there are even more exciting things that are coming.
So with that, can I ask as well, how have you and your team been doing throughout the pandemic? Has it slowed down some of the surgeries because people were maybe hesitant, at least at the beginning of COVID, to get the surgery?
Yeah, no. I mean, we were completely shut down in terms of doing elective cases, last April or May at the height of the pandemic. And there are still patients who are hesitant to come in and be in the hospital, even though it's really, for most patients, just an overnight stay. And people have to do what's right for them. Hopefully, I think things seem to be opening up again. Our volumes are actually pretty good right now. I'm quite happy with them.
Dr. Schwalb with us here on the Megacast from Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital. And for people that maybe are looking at a loved one and they're starting to notice what they think could be Parkinson's or something is off, what are the first initial signs?
So it's interesting, to be honest, the signs can be somewhat confusing. So, we see patients, some of the earliest signs, frankly, are depression. We see patients that come to us after having had shoulder surgery because they have stiffness, and it's been perceived as degeneration as opposed to Parkinsonism. So it can be pretty different. A lot of patients have a decreased sense of smell, which is sometimes an early pickup. Patients who have new depression where they don't have any history of depression is sometimes an early pickup, or a prodrome where you're seeing that before you see other symptoms of Parkinsonism. But again, it can be pretty variable. The main criteria we use to determine whether someone has Parkinson's is if they have tremor, if they have rigidity, if they have slowness of movement, and if they're unsteady on their feet, and we don't see another obvious cause. And the tremor is a very specific type of tremor that is at rest. There's another condition that actually we treat called essential tremor, where it's worse with movement and gets better for many people with alcohol. That's a different type of tremor, although it's much more common than Parkinson's disease. So, in terms of trying to diagnose your loved one or your neighbor with Parkinson's disease, it can be difficult. Even though, my family tends to make fun of me that I tend to diagnose people in the grocery store.
It's got to be hard, tough for people with your medical background and your knowledge, and to be in the general public and you see things. Do you ever just go up to someone and say, "Hey, you may want to go to your doctor and get that checked out"?
It depends how severe it is. If it's mild, I tend not to.
I could see that would be a challenge. Well, Doctor, it's been such an honor and a pleasure to have you with us here today. We so appreciate your time and all the work that you're doing as well. I'm looking at your resume and I'm like, I'm not smart enough to even ask you questions. So it's been great having you.
Well, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, we appreciate your time. And I will say we've been very lucky to have Henry Ford West Bloomfield Hospital right here in our local community. But, the high level of expertise that they have in some of their doctors over there at the hospital, we're blessed to have them right here in our local community because I think by now, so many of us know someone, some type of relative or a close connection that suffers from Parkinson's. So it's great to see that they have some of these developments, and hopefully more treatments are down the road as well.
Yeah, hopefully we do see continued improvements in treatments for neurological diseases such as Parkinson's, MS, and so on, because it does affect a lot of people. And like Dr. Schwalb said, it affects different people in different ways, and there's not really one set way that it affects people. And so any treatments that can help prolong people's lives and enhance their quality of life over time while they're still afflicted with this disease, or even better yet, come to a place where the medical community can find a cure, is going to be extremely positive.
We'll take a break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll be speaking with the Executive Director for Life Leaders. That's next here on the Megacast.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you back with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios with Mr. Tyler Keefe. We are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. You can always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham area, Municipal Access Channel 15 if you have Comcast 99 on AT&T. Listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff, or you can also check us out on Facebook because we always live stream the edition of the Megacast and all of those outlets, which makes us the Megacast, which really, I think so many other outlets are going to be following suit as well. If you can air it on the radio, TV, and social media at the same time.
Yeah, I saw, and not necessarily in this format, but I know ESPN for their Monday Night Football broadcast this fall is going to be doing an extended broadcast, an expanded broadcast throughout their networks, and they're referring to that as a Megacast as well. So we're not seeing eye to eye with them. We're not friends right now.
Hey, one of the great things about this show is we're able to speak to so many interesting people throughout the entire community and do so in a long interview format. And we're excited to have on our next guest, Amy Nederlander. She is the founder and president for Empower for Life Leaders, an organization that empowers youth to empower their future. I absolutely love that. Amy, it's so great to have you with us. How are you today?
Hi, thank you very much. I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
Tell us more about Life Leaders and why you decided to organize or come up with this organization.
Well, I had the idea of working with youth in Detroit when I was a lot younger, a kid actually. I am a big believer in the importance and the power of what people of all ages have to say, and also direct relationships. And I don't know, so finally I was able to, make this happen. And Life Leaders is a youth leadership, workforce, and career development organization. It's an experience-based curriculum where Detroit is our classroom. And so our curriculum is highlighted with a lot of field trips and roundtable discussions and guest speakers with leaders in the community, so that as this youth are building their interpersonal and professional skills, they're understanding Detroit and the opportunity that there is, and also have direct access to building relationships and participating in the opportunity.
What's been the response from the kids in Detroit? How have they reacted to this program?
It's been wonderful. It's been really, really wonderful. we became a nonprofit in 2019. And the response, for example, after our first summer program, was the students asked, they said, why don't we know this information? And our friends know this. I mean, we go on tours in Detroit, we go to the Historical Museum, members of the mayor's team present the growth plan that includes the entire city and the neighborhoods. And so there's a lot of different things that the students are exposed to that they really don't learn about in school or might not be aware of in their communities, the macro growth plans and opportunities. And so we're really an organization about collaboration in the community. And so we said, all right, well, let's get as many of your youth and peers and friends in the room as possible with the people that you're meeting with. And so that's how we came up with the Detroit Youth Summit Conference. And it's part of the curriculum, producing it and hosting it. And so the guest panelists and breakout rooms, and we have an opportunity fair. It's all hosted and moderated by the students.
So with this, we do know that this year, a little bit different than years past. Do you have to do it virtually, or are you going to try to do it in person?
No, actually, it's our second virtual conference. Our first conference was the summer of 2019, hosted by the Mike Ilitch School of Business, who continues to be our partner. But last year was virtual, and it was pretty spectacular. We got great feedback from the panelists and also from the students. And so unfortunately, we have to do it virtual again this year. Next year, I am confident it will be in person, right? The power of positive thought, and probably end up being a hybrid event because we want to reach as many youth as possible.
Yeah, and with that, speaking of that, have you been able to reach more people and also maybe bring in guest speakers that you wouldn't be able to if it was in person?
Probably. It's really, and I say probably because I think of one of our guests at the conference last year was Lieutenant Governor Garland Kilcrest, who was hosted in a one-on-one discussion with one of our students. And would he have been able to make it to Detroit from Lansing? I don't know. I think so, but he had no problem making it virtually. The support from the community is extraordinary. We work closely with the mayor's office and the Detroit Regional Chamber and other community and business leaders. So,
Amy, I know a big part of this is really, empowering the kids and allowing them to see the possibilities in the world. I know it's still somewhat new of a program, but for some of the students that have already gone through it, has it been life-changing for them?
I don't like to speak on behalf of anybody, but the feedback has been extraordinary. And the students, it's interesting. I'll tell you that we're a pro bono client of donor advertising. And one of the things that they did for us was a brand world analysis where they spoke to the community about our work. So students, parents, and partners, and just who are we in the community. And we didn't write any of it. And they presented it to us virtually, and our students were included in that presentation. And at the end, when they present the brand ambition, it's to stop opportunity from being a privilege, and that Life Leaders provides those on-ramps to opportunity. And I will tell you that the response that the students had to people at donor advertising was some of the kids were teary-eyed, but they said they felt heard, mm-hmm. and that they were really finally feeling that their voice mattered and that people wanted to hear what they had to say because of the leaders that we were connecting with them and the follow-up that was provided, because they don't just meet with the leaders, but there's follow-up meetings if they want to have them. The students write professional emails, they make professional phone calls, they research whoever it is that they're meeting with so that they can prepare their questions. So without going through other endorsements, I thought that really spoke to that, and that the students come back year after year, and then when they graduate and go off to college, they're still involved with us, networking for jobs or internships. So it's really a very special community that we've started.
This is such a great program, and when you can give the teens and the kids a voice, they amaze us because there's so much possibility if we just take off the blinders and open them up to the worlds beyond the world that they live in. So tell us more about the Youth Summit. I know it's going to be happening in August.
Right. It's a 2-day virtual event, and we did that so that it's 2 half days to try to avoid Zoom fatigue. And each year the conference is told through the lens of current events, and where Detroit youth and leaders get to build Detroit together. And so this year, each year the conference, the format is very similar in that there's 2 panel discussions, then there's breakout rooms, and then there's an opportunity fair, which is much like a job fair, but there's smaller breakout rooms and much more than just jobs. There's breakout rooms in access to free education, or or last year we had a breakout room in voting in the census. And this year's conference, we're really highlighting access to mental and physical health. Mental health is a big conversation, and is being built as a pillar of our programming in partnership with Priority Health and with Beaumont Hospital and Black Family Development. But the first panel is Then Until Now. It's updates on the city's growth. And this year we're including health in that, but guest speakers include Dr. Beatty, who's the superintendent, Anika Goss, who's the CEO of Detroit Future City, and Denise Fair, who is the Chief Public Health Officer for the city of Detroit. And so in addition to that, we've got a panel that of youth and youth activism at different organizations that it's really exciting to hear their voice. And then we have a really exciting panel that is talking about opportunities in the workforce, redefining opportunities in the workforce. The subtitle of this year's conference is Defining the New Normal. And, we really have a lot to look at coming out of COVID and the social justice movement, and how so many different things are impacted. And so this particular panel, we've got 3 people on it. We've got Jeff Donofrio, who's the CEO of Michigan Business Leaders. Then we also have Nicole Sherrard-Freeman, who is head of workforce development, Detroit at Work in the mayor's office. And we also have Joshua Edmonds, who's the director of digital inclusion in the mayor's office. And this, we're talking about Michigan as, it's a goal for Michigan to be a top 10 state to work in. And what does that mean? And what direction are they moving in? And the coordination with the city of Detroit, and the overall objective of eradicating the digital divide, and how digital access and technology, the access to it and the training in it is supported as technology becomes a much more important industry in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan. So it's an exciting conversation.
These kids are so lucky to have access to some of the members of your panel to be able to have these conversations, and hopefully they feel comfortable enough to have them in an open and honest dialogue as well.
Well, it's exciting because when the program first started, it was like, why are they meeting with us? And I'm like, because they care. And it's like, why do they keep coming back? And I said, because they care and they're really interested in what you have to say. And now they just believe it. It's like, wow, they really want to meet with us. My voice matters, because there's follow-up meetings. And we're really lucky in the state of Michigan and the city of Detroit. There is a very keen and real interest in intergenerational conversations and input on what is happening, and supporting the youth, because the youth are the future leaders. And so they need to be exposed to what's going on now so that they can plan their futures accordingly. And it's really exciting. So we don't have to generate that confidence anymore in our conference, because the energy is there with the youth who keep coming back and the word of mouth about what the event is.
And it's allowing the teens to not only realize that they are our future, but also, just because sometimes you grow up in certain neighborhoods or certain zip codes, your voice doesn't matter any less than anyone else's. It's just having the courage and the confidence to stand up and use that voice.
Yeah, definitely. And an important part of our program, you mentioned neighborhoods, is that part of our curriculum is looking at the demographic maps of Detroit, looking at the 200 plus neighborhoods of Detroit, the scale of Detroit, and understanding how the population distribution, so that they can really understand the physical as a, in addition to the physical opportunities, in addition to opportunities in labor and education.
So with that, we're speaking with Amy Nederlander. She is the founder of Life Leaders. And Amy, if I can ask you, who qualifies to take part in this conference?
It's for youth ages 14 to 24, and all you need to do is register.
So is it only open to Detroit students or Detroit residents, or is this a regional event?
It's really a Detroit event. We're really hyper-focused on Detroit and Detroit opportunity. We do have some people who have registered who are out of town, who live in Detroit, who are, of the age group, but they want to know what's going on. So you can register for anywhere, but it's really, the Opportunity Fair is about jobs and opportunity in Detroit. The leaders are from the state, but with a focus on Detroit and how that fits into the big picture.
So Amy, where do you hope to take this program next?
Well,
we're still trying to navigate where we are right now. A pandemic kind of throws a wrench into some plans, huh?
You know what it did? It accelerated our business plan, and we became fully virtual. So it was an exciting time in many ways. But the reason that I paused is there's a lot of interest in other cities in the program, and also for the Youth Summit Conference. There's opportunity possibly for it to even be a template for a state conference, one step at a time. We've been focused on Detroit. We want this program, as it expands, to come from Detroit. It's Detroit born and bred, and has the grit and the gumption and the tenacity and and a flair, the Detroit flair.
Well, I know the kids, you were definitely their superhero when you were able to put them in contact with the producer of Hamilton. And that really put your program on the map. What was that like? I mean, we know your family comes from a theater background, but to have those connections and to open up that world to Detroit residents must have been so rewarding for you.
It was, on so many different levels. We were very, very fortunate that right after we became a nonprofit, Hamilton was coming to the Fisher Theater, because the story of Hamilton and the message of Hamilton is our program, right? And so we had a very large group. We had a group of 600 people one evening, and the event was co-produced by our students, and the students knew every person that was in that room. They had researched them, our sponsors. They were prepared for networking. Our students all across the board we give them business cards in their preparation for interpersonal and professional skill development and networking. But a lot of great meetings came out of that, and just from the audience members connecting and wanting to support the interests of the youth. But the overall event, it was extraordinary. We had a strolling dinner in the lobby where the students spoke. They got up on the podium and they spoke to 600 people in the lobby of the Fisher Building. And getting to meet Jeffrey, and also Jeffrey Sellers, the producer, who came in, and Tommy Kell, the director, also came in for a talk back with the cast. It was exciting. It was exciting.
I know that you have a lot of life experience, but what has this organization and these kids taught you?
To walk the talk. When they ask me something and I go, okay, I have to do that. I have to be fearless. No is only an answer, and it usually doesn't mean stop. It means pivot, right? And so it's taught me to walk the talk with a lot more authority, because I got to deliver for the kids. When they ask, I got to do it.
And that is motivation, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Well, Amy, we so appreciate your time today. If people want to learn more information, where can they do so?
Well, at our website, which is behind me some way, it's fueledbylife.org. And on our website is our telephone number, and so you can email us, call directly. We would love to hear from anybody who would like to get involved as a mentor, a guest speaker, support us with sponsorships, donations. We are a nonprofit, and we have exciting growth in front of us. So thank you for asking that question.
That's so great. Do you know Dr. Barry or Pastor Barry Randolph of Church of Messiah?
Oh, not personally.
I need to hook you two up. Talk about connections. Like, the world's about connections, and he's doing this in a small scale in his neighborhood. But I feel like the two of you could do more great things together, because it's all about the kids and empowering the kids. That's the important part of all of this. So it's been.
I'm going to hold you to that. So thank you.
I will. So walk the talk, or talk the walk the talk.
Walk the talk.
There you go.
I'll get your email, and I'll email you his contact information, and I'll do the same for him as well, because I think the two of you would really get along well.
Wonderful. I look forward to it.
Well, it's been so great having you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Again, if you want to find out more, just go to fueledbylife.org. We'll take a break here on the Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to be talking to the Village Players of Birmingham. The theater is back open, and it's so exciting. That's next here on the Megacast.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. Just about 15-20 minutes left here in the show, and one of the last industries to really reopen following the COVID-19 crisis is the theater industry. But the good news are the plays are coming back. That is so exciting because, while some of the theaters have been trying to go virtual, and we are all about Netflixed out by now, nothing replaces seeing a live performance.
Yes, yeah, it's a unique experience, and it's different because you're seeing the process happen right in front of you. You're seeing these people turn into other people and other characters right in front of you and hold that for a long period of time. And there's always those extra variables in every single show. While by script it's the same, it's different on every single performance.
And one of our oldest theaters here in the state of Michigan is reopening, the Village Players of Birmingham. We want to bring in Tanya Valinsky. She's the treasurer and historian, and Ryan Bowie. He's one of the actors who's going to be playing a part in one of their upcoming plays. Tanya, if we can start with you. Welcome back.
So happy to be back.
What's it been like to get to this point? I believe the last time we spoke with you, the theater was still shut down.
Yes, it's been, what has it been, 16 months or so that the stage has been empty, the theater's been dark, and we are so excited to be back in the theater. That back in June when Governor Granholm allowed full capacity for theaters. We had been in talks with a local church to do a small production of Godspell outdoors, and it just happened that day that Granholm opened up, allowed full capacity in the theaters, and we're like, wow, we could do this in the theater. And we're doing the show in August. The theater has air conditioning, and it's not going to rain in the theater. So within 48 hours, we pivoted and decided that we could do an indoor show.
How exciting is that? And I know you kind of just, hinted at the play. So tell us the first play that's going to be produced and, put on there at the theater.
Our first production is Godspell, which is the classic musical based on the book of Matthew. That all the parables, everything that the Good Samaritan and the prodigal son, many of those stories, with some wonderful music. And we're doing the 2012 revision of the show, which is a much hipper, much funkier music show. So we have some spectacular young musicians in this show that are making just some incredible music.
So Ryan, if we can go ahead and bring you into the conversation, Ryan Bowie, he's going to be playing John the Baptist. And what's it been like for you as an actor throughout this time?
Well, it's actually been very interesting because this will be my first, I'll be my first role outside of a college environment. So it's actually very exciting. And it's even more exciting because we're putting this on in 5 weeks, and that's not something that's normally done. We usually have more time to do it. So it's been very, very exciting, and it's been I've been a little nervous, but the director, the choreographer, and my castmates have done a great job at, getting me acclimated in. I think it's going to be a fantastic show.
Are you a little nervous though? I mean, August 5th is right around the corner.
Yes. So yeah, we're all a little nervous, but I think what is keeping us grounded is the fact that, we're actually picking up on this stuff really fast. It's not taking us a long time to, learn our lines, to learn songs. Like right now we're in the phase of cleaning things up. So it's not like we don't have a lot of stuff to learn. So we're nervous, but it's like we're moving, we're making progress. And then we're excited that theater is back. So it's like, it's the excitement of this will be our first show, since COVID has happened. So we're all really excited.
What's it like for you as well? You mentioned this is the first one outside of a college setting, but to be doing it in such a historic theater.
It's an honor. I think the first time I went to the Village Players, my cousin, he was, I believe the show was Ain't Misbehaving, I want to say, and he was the musical director of that. And so just being able to see him play on stage, and now me, maybe like 2 or 3 years later, being able to be on the same stage doing, something that I love to do, is like, wow, this is an awesome privilege, and I don't take it lightly.
We're talking with actor Ryan Bowie. He is going to be playing John the Baptist for the Village Players of Birmingham when Godspell opens early next month. Then Ryan, with that too, walk us through what practice has been like, or rehearsal. I guess it's rehearsal, not practice.
So on Mondays and Tuesdays, we usually have choreography, and that has been amazing, because I don't consider myself a dancer, but the choreographer and then my castmates like, you're doing fine. So I don't know what you're talking about. So we take 3 hours for rehearsal. We learn dances, we clean things up. And then Wednesday and Thursday is our music rehearsal. And we just run through all the songs, all our parts. And then on Sundays, we do our blocking, learning and running through the show, running through the musical numbers. But this week, it's a mixture of both. So today and tomorrow, we'll be doing music and choreography. Now we're putting both parts together, and we're finishing up our blocking, and Saturday, we'll do a complete run through the show. And so where emotions are really high this week, because it's like we have 2 weeks left, but we really have been doing such a solid job at getting our stuff and learning. So we're really excited, like super excited.
So Tanya, what has the other side of the house been like to try to get the rehearsals up, running, scheduled, but now to also deal with like the publicity to try to get, people back into the seats?
Yes, it's been a scramble because in addition to putting up this show, we were switching over our ticketing system. So unfortunately, that didn't get switched over till last week. We had not been able to sell tickets, but the ticketing system is up. You can buy our tickets now. But we have a wonderful woman, Chris Kelly, is my assistant producer, and she is a publicity fiend. She has been in contact with everybody. We've blasted out emails in it to all our subscribers, that getting in contact with the newspapers. So we're just hoping that people are ready to come and sit in a theater. We're really curious to see how that's going to go. Are people ready to sit now elbow to elbow in a theater? This is our test.
Because how many people does the theater hold?
The theater normally holds 204, but we've actually removed the first 2 rows, so everybody will be set back from the actors. And so I believe that makes it 185, but somewhere in that range.
It's been such a long road to get back to reopening.
Absolutely.
When you see in other parts of the country where the numbers are starting to spike again, does your heart get are you a little scared, a little nervous there?
We do get very nervous, especially, the experience from when COVID first hit. We had 1 weekend of our show, Shakespeare in Love, and all of a sudden the world changed and everything shut down. That Shakespeare in Love set is still up on our stage 16 months later. We're actually using most of it for our show Godspell. And then the Shakespeare in Love people we're doing 3 more weeks in September. So they will actually get to do their show.
Wow. And I'm thinking about this because you are a small theater, but yet you're also one of Michigan's oldest theaters. Were you concerned at some point in times that maybe you weren't going to make it through and the doors wouldn't reopen?
That financially, we're very lucky in that our theater, we don't have a mortgage. So it didn't take as much money to be able to keep going. And we have wonderful members and patrons that we've gotten some wonderful donations. We do things, we've rented our parking lot and stuff like that. But more worried about keeping us together as a group, people together. So our boards, and we've had committees that have worked very hard to make sure that our members stay engaged, that we just don't drift away. But it was a big concern.
So Ryan, if I can ask you, what was the auditioning process like?
So mine was a little bit unique because when I came to audition, they were actually, already running, sitting down doing the script. So I actually just came in and sat down with the read-in and during one of the breaks, I had to sing a song that I prepared, and then I had to sing a little bit of the lines. And thankfully they liked me, so I'm here. It was, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So
you mentioned college. Are you still in college? You graduate from college?
So I'm still in college. I go to Wayne State University. My major is vocal music education. I graduate in December of 2022. So I have 1 more year left, and so I'm really excited. But I'm thinking now that everything is opening up, and now I'm on stage, I don't think I'm going to go directly to the classroom. I think I'm going to try to seek out more, performance opportunities, because this has been amazing. And so I think I'll do a little bit more performance if I actually go into the classroom.
I will say, your smile, you can tell that you are so enthusiastic and so passionate about this, because I wonder for people like in your major throughout this time, did it kind of force you to rethink what you want to do with your future? Because it was like, boy, what if we go through something like this again and the theaters close down again?
Yeah, so one thing that, COVID-19 forced us to do was to learn how to do more than one thing. So for me, while I do, vocal music education was my thing, but my minor is actually music tech. So it forced me to learn, to use the skills that I know to, record myself in a studio on my laptop and clean it up, and to learn how to shoot a video. So I have to, using my phone, I learned how to shoot my own music video, shoot multiple angles and all that stuff, putting that stuff together. And throwing, and putting out a polished product. Actually, one of the things that we learned to do, our choir director at Wayne State, Dr. Brandon Waddles, the thing that he enforced to us over this break was process over product. Because so many times, we're so focused on the product, just getting it out, that we neglect the process. Like, the process is really important, like learning why you're singing what you're singing, learning how to sing it. Like, that stuff is just as important as getting on the stage and presenting a great show. Because if you don't know the process, your product will only be, it'll be good, but it won't be as great as it can be. So this is really reinforced, like, process over product, learning everything you can, putting your hand at multiple things, because you never know where you're going to land. And so I'm grateful that, I can say that I have a lot of things to, fall back on should, something like this happen again.
How long have you been singing?
I've been singing since all my life. I've been singing all my life. I was born and raised in church. My dad was a pastor, so I sung there, and that's just been, music has been my thing since I was a young kid. So
just a couple more minutes with us here on the Megacast. And Ryan, before I say goodbye to you, what's your social media? Do you post a lot of your stuff on social?
Yes, I do. So on Facebook, you can find me, Ryan Bowie. My Instagram and Twitter handle is It's Bowie, so ITSBOWIE with an underscore. And I'm on TikTok with that same handle. So I've actually, this week, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've just been going through and catching up on all the different singing challenges on there. So I don't think I'll do one today because I'm, kind of tight for time, but the rest of this week they can catch me, singing different clips of different songs with different people. So, and I'm actually, I didn't tell this, but I will be posting a clip of me singing one of the songs that I have to sing in the show. I'll be putting that together really soon to put that on there to further advertise, so they can look out for that as well.
That's awesome. And with that, Tanya, just about another minute with you. How can people get tickets, and how much are they?
The tickets are $15, and you just need to go to our website, which is www.birminghamvillageplayers.com.
$15 is the best ticket in town. I mean, come on, that's a great price to be able to see a live performance again.
Right. It's barely more than a movie. But you get to get the energy of having these young live performers in front of you. It is just going to be such a joyful experience. You're going to just leave the theater smiling.
So what's the next performance after this one?
Is our Shakespeare in Love, which is the movie, is the play based on the movie. It is a very large cast, but this poor cast got 3 performances and then COVID. So pretty much the whole cast is back, and that will be the 3 weekends after Labor Day.
Well, it's great that you guys are back. I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to it. And it was such a great point that you just pointed out. Tickets are $15. A movie theater ticket now is what, $10, $12? So come on, go out. Let's support the local theater. Again, they're the third oldest theater here in the state of Michigan, the Village Players of Birmingham. Check them out. Try to go to at least one performance this summer to continue to support them, because it's been a struggle the past year. We've all been waiting for live performances, and this is a great opportunity to go see a live play. With that, that's going to wrap it up for the Wednesday edition of the Megacast. We want to say thank you to everyone for taking time to be with us today, and also to Larry and Ryan and everyone behind the scenes taking all the effort it takes to get the program on, because booking 25 guests each and every week is not an easy task.